the first F2 pole position in a very long time on a Grand Prix weekend. Huge excitement for this session. It's one of two that Formula 2 runs under floodlights in this 2017 season. As you can see, the yellow marked soft Pirelli tyre, and Norman Nato, who is in the field changing teams this year from Racing Engineering last year to Arden this with his bright yellow livery. He was saying half the challenge of qualifying is to try and make that tyre last all the way around the lap. Interestingly, the Ardens are remaining in the pit lane. They are not in this queue, which Ollie Rowland will lead them out onto the circuit. Here comes the train then. Remember, no tyre blankets, and we've got a staller there. That's what the yellow flag is for in the background. And you can see there the Rapax, and unfortunately it is Nick de Vries again. He said he had a problem earlier. If you joined us for practice, you would have seen he had a problem with the alternator. And Nick de Vries currently stranded in the pit lane. So thankfully that problem has been rectified. As we have a look, graphics on the left-hand side displaying what would be a dream F2 grid. There we go. Ollie Rowland leading the field out on the way around the circuit. And we see Luca Giotto there for Russian time. So Artem Markelov there in the other Russian time car. He is going to be a very major factor. He was so impressive earlier on, hooking up all three sectors on his way to taking second position in the session. He much prefers the soft tyre. In general, they really do at Russian time. They are much happier with the soft tyre than they are the medium. That bodes well for this session, bodes very badly indeed for the race, but they can worry about that later on. So, no tyre blankets, warming tyres, warming brakes. It's a very hard circuit indeed on brakes. Major stopping points at turn 1, turn 4, turn 14. There's turn 10 and 11 as well that really put the brakes under enormous stress. And is it going to favour the experienced drivers in the field? Everyone is technically a rookie, but some rookies in this Formula 2 field are more experienced than others. Ollie Rowland has a year and a bit of experience with this machinery. And the Dams driver knows how to operate that Pirelli rubber behind him. He's got a driver who has competed in this machinery only over one race weekend. That was Louis Delatraz.
Like a shark. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Artem Markelov loves a tune. We heard that last year. He's back on the radio, quite literally, giving us a tune, and he is always relaxed. He's a strange character. I don't mean it offensively to Artem, but he gets a penalty, he shrugs. Yeah, I got a penalty, no problem. He wins the race. Yeah, what of it? I've just won the race in Monaco by making the soft tyre last for endless laps and then vaulting everyone with the virtual safety car. His mood is always unchanged. He's always super cool. So, tyre warming complete. DRS open. You see the 2:08 is not representative, but Ollie Rowland is about to show us exactly what is ahead of Louis Delatraz. The fastest two men here in testing, this man's teammate, Nicholas Latifi, who put it in the 140s. 40.5 for him, and Nick de Vries, the minimum we are expecting from them out there. Give you a little update of track conditions earlier on. Absolutely sweltering, 46 degrees the track temperature when they were running the medium tyre. It's 36 degrees air temperature. Right now, under the floodlights, 29 track. The air temperature is 28. So, as Nick de Vries said to me earlier, it is going to be a totally different racetrack, not only in terms of temperature, but in terms of the tyre rubber that's been laid down from those Formula One sessions. Of course, Formula 2 running the old size of tyre, if you like, the traditional size of tyre that we've been used to, and Formula One going to the much bigger 1992 spec. More rubber and more grip for the guys in F1, but this car absolutely rapid, and Ollie Rowland really pushing very early indeed. Charles Leclerc is posting a very fast time in the first sector as well. It was a case in practice that Leclerc and Fuoco were unable to do their personal best in all three sectors. That was something that Ollie Rowland was able to do. He was really, really rapid in the middle part of the lap. He's done that once again, a 43.0 to go across the line. And that, a 40.2 faster than anything we saw in testing a few weeks ago. Delatraz has got himself up to third, only for a second though. Gustav Malia, his teammate from Racing Engineering, up to second. Nicholas Latifi, 0.8 of a second away. But here's a man that took 4 poles in the GP3 season last year. He is rapid over one lap, and what can Charles Leclerc do? He can go fastest by 0.7 of a second. And Prima were absolutely rapid over one lap. Here's Norman Nato in the Arden. He has switched back to the team that he originally started the GP2 series with. Now in Formula 2, where does this effort put him over the line? Second. So we have a Monegasque driver in first and a French driver in second, only 0.2 adrift. And he's lost the minute amount of time to Leclerc in the first part of the lap as we see Stefano Coletti returning to this equipment. Very experienced driver, 7 times he's won in the Dallara GP211. Another lockup for Nobuharu Matsushita, a man who in this car has been on the front row. He managed that in 2015, but that lockup not the fastest way around the corner. And we saw trouble a little bit earlier in practice for Giotto, and we're seeing more of it. It was the first turn then. This is turn 10. He just about gets it slowed down. In GP3, we saw how quick this guy is over one lap, but he's not been able to do it at the moment. Here's the man who really struggled earlier on in practice. That's Alexander Albon, the runner-up in the GP3 series, and he is currently in 16th position. ART, not used to that. That is an ART. They have changed liveries, changed colour schemes to go to the black and red that they raced with Stoffel van Dorn when they took him to the title in 2015. So Stefano Coletti, we saw him with the big lockup, and he's back out there cruising though through the final part of the lap. So Coletti doesn't have a representative lap time, neither does Johnny Cecotto. But it's Leclerc ahead of Nato. Nato not mentioned in everyone's predictions, but the reigning GP2 champion, Pierre Gasly, expected Nato to be there. He said if he was with an established team that always challenged for the title, everyone would be tipping Nato. And Nato with Arden, who have struggled in recent years with this car, looking at a front row of all the returning GP2 drivers to this Formula 2 field. Norman Nato has had a pole position. Johnny Cecotto, the only other one who's managed that. So we know he's fantastic over one lap. Nato thrashed his teammate Jordan King last year, 10-1. And that between two drivers that were very evenly matched. was a very impressive performance. On board with Nicholas Latifi then, he is still pushing out there. Johnny Cecotto has gone very quick indeed through the opening part of the lap. We're focusing on the Dams driver. He's had 1 year with the team. It was a really trying year as well, wasn't it? The early podium in Barcelona, but then it didn't yield too much more. Indeed, he was another man beaten by his teammate 10-1 in qualifying, and a huge amount of oversteer there for the Canadian. He's not got many corners, just 2 in fact. Another heavy braking zone and a corner where it is oh so easy to get oversteer on the exit if you go too early, but he's judged it to perfection. And Latifi, not the tightest of laps for the Renault development driver. He's over the line to go 14th with his teammate in 4th position. Antonio Fuoco can see his teammate currently on provisional pole. Does he have any sort of response? Currently in 5th place. He goes up to 2nd. It's a prima front row as it stands. Cecotto was rapid in the first part of the lap. Where does this put him? Up into 7th. He lost a lot of time in the final part of the lap. Johnny Cecotto wearing a specially changed helmet from earlier. As Nato comes over the line one more time.
Looking everything everywhere.
Well, in sharp contrast to the serenity that we saw from Dams, it's not working out at the moment for Ollie Rowland, who always managed to get himself up into the top 10. And we heard it on the radio, locking everywhere, and we're seeing it now down at turn 10. So Prima picking up where they left off in GP2. They are starting the Formula 2 season in style at the moment. Long way to go, though. Leclerc ahead of Fuoco, less than a 1/10 of a second between them. Looking at Nick de Vries, who I'm delighted to see has got back into this session after that difficult start. They were a little bit worried about the alternator. So Nabil Jeffrey goes through our picture. Here is Alexander Albon, who's managed to get himself up into a very creditable 6th position for ART, and he's done so at the expense of his teammate. At the moment, he is 2/10 ahead. So let's confirm the order there, because it was fairly manic. So Leclerc and Fuoco, then we've got Nato. Giotto confirming what they suspected at Russian time. He leads his teammate by 0.07 of a second at the moment, but Russian time really feeling at ease on that soft tyre. Then we have Albon. De Vries, when he gets going, he is absolutely rapid. He was so quick throughout last year's GP3 campaign. It's just he ran into people, he made mistakes, he got penalties. And he said to me earlier, I overtook so many guys and only won 2 races. So he is keen to prove a point. I asked him about pressure, because it was not the season that De Vries really wanted last year, and he said there's always pressure at this level of motorsport. He's not worried. They had problems with the radio as well as the alternator, so a bit of a nightmare session, but Rapax bouncing back, and Matsushita with a little bit of work to do. We were looking at him. Here's Ralph Boschung, one of 5 GP3 graduates in the field, driving for the newly liveried Campos team. They've abandoned the bright yellow from last year. And on board with the man I was talking about a few moments ago, Nick de Vries says he feels at home with Rapax. He speaks Italian because of the karting history. And he is very comfortable at the moment in 7th. Sergei Sorokin, he's just gone past. Sorokin, of course, who started in GP2 with the Rapax team. And in Formula 2, de Vries also making his bow. Sorokin, who managed 2 third places in the series. I think de Vries will be very pleased indeed, given the state of the last couple of years where his reputation has not been enhanced. He is a quick driver, though. This guy, absolutely rapid. His teammate from last year, and Charles Leclerc, electing to go in the gap. Now, we saw Gasly do this a couple of times. We saw Alex Lynn do it in Budapest. Gasly do it in Abu Dhabi.
brakes are a disaster, mate. Just like this morning, they're no good. I said this morning they didn't feel right. They still don't feel right.
So Ollie Rowland just underlining the note he clearly gave to the team earlier this morning about the brakes. He was fastest of all. And it was interesting, his team principal was saying how he regards Ollie Rowland as a rough and raw talent in the same mould as Valsecchi, in the same mould as Romain Grosjean and Jolyon Palmer, someone who is massively quick. And of course, we'll be joined tomorrow by Davide Valsecchi to hear if he agrees with his former boss's assessment of Ollie Rowland. We'll get his tip as well with who he expects to emulate his achievement in GP2 in this, the first Formula 2 season at this level for a very long time. And I tell you what, Antonio Fuoco will be delighted at the moment. He was the main non-ART challenger in GP3 last year. And if he can go toe-to-toe with his teammate, well, they're both Ferrari Academy drivers. He's an Italian driver in an Italian team. And, well, just saying, Kimi Räikkönen is getting towards the end of his Formula 1 career. Ferrari don't tend to put rookies in the car, but that is the great thing about this championship. You are right in the view of all the team bosses. In fact, he couldn't be any closer. Behind him, you can just see in the background there, is the Ferrari garage. So if you perform in this championship, you are going to alert team bosses, and we've seen so many graduates from the forerunner of this championship. That was GP2, and now back out there on the racetrack. So this is curious behavior from Charles Leclerc. Is he going to copy what Pierre Gasly did, what Alex Lynn did? You always see someone run in the gap. That isn't unusual. What is unusual is to see the man sitting on provisional pole doing it. That is very, very surprising. But he clearly, a little bit agree with traffic, and if you were with us earlier for practice, you'll know why. Because he managed to find himself not once, but twice behind the racing engineering of Gustav Mallier, and maybe that spooked him a little bit. Maybe he just wants to see clear racetrack. Of course, theoretically, the track will be getting faster and faster, and you want to be last over the line. But clearly not the way that Leclerc is going to go with it. So he is getting maximum exposure on this racetrack under the Friday night lights. And as I said, 4 poles in GP3. There is a question mark over his ability to handle the tyres, but that's not for today. Right now, it's all about raw pace. Prima were, according to various sources, very happy indeed with the testing pace over 1 lap. They were less pleased with their long run pace. So Boschung, I think he'll be fairly happy with that at the moment. Boschung in 14th place, ahead of Kamara, ahead of Kaleo, Kana Massas, who we've not seen much of, Latifi, Coletti, and Jeffrey. And certainly for Boschung to out-qualify his vastly experienced teammate, as Sean Galeo has a little look at the telemetry, has a little look at the traces, and sees where he needs to break the touch later, maybe a few meters, in order to try and bridge the gap to his teammate. That will be a big ask. At the moment, Galeo down in 16th position, 1.2 seconds off the pace. His teammate Norman Nato less than 2 tenths away. So Leclerc deciding to have it all to himself, and what a fantastic racetrack it is. Plunging now down the hill to turn number 8 already. And he has set the fastest first sector of anyone so far. That is a rapid early pace. Is this the right moment? He's got to carry that speed. Remember, Norman Nato underlined it. You've got to make the tyres last. It's one thing to be fast through the opening part of the lap. It's another thing to carry that speed through the tight technical turns of 11, 12, 13 and 14. He's on one of 4 straights where they get up to 185 miles an hour. You saw the DRS close there. It's looking very, very accomplished at the moment. He has long been the main man touted in the junior Formula. Well, Leclerc is going even faster. You see the evidence of it there. 4 tenths better than his earlier benchmark. And remember, everyone else going to have to respond to this, but going to have to respond to it with with cars filling the racetrack, no free air. Leclerc up through the gears, up to 180 miles an hour and lowering the bar surely. Yes, by 0.6 of a second. Charles Leclerc really introducing himself to Formula 2 in some style under the lights. Can anyone get within 0.7 of that man? If not, he is picking up where he left off, hand out of the cockpit, and he will be mighty, mighty pleased. A 38.9 is really, really impressive. That is only 1/10 away from the ultimate pace we've seen in this machinery, and that was Jolyon Palmer's GP2 pole back in 2014. That is faster than we've seen in previous years. That is some lap from the Monegasque driver and Ferrari Junior. So, time to reflect for all of them. There are giant TV screens around this circuit. They will be aware. There's one right by Luca Ghiotto. And so they can look into the grandstand to see the lap. Fuoco has just exited the pit lane, and his countryman is going to join him at any moment, waiting for the signal from the team. Luca Ghiotto really looking to improve. The best he managed last year in this equipment was 4th. He is currently matching that at the moment. That's very slow from Ollie Rowland. Is he just buying himself some room, or is he trying a different technique in terms, it's far too slow to get any heat into the tyres. It's interesting to see earlier in practice, some outlaps were far slower than others. Some guys running around there at a 1:50 pace, some guys running around there at a 2:10, but that does not look intentional at all for the man who came into this session as one of the men to beat. So Ollie Rowland continuing. We'll hear very, very shortly on the radio if there is a major problem, or maybe he is running to a predetermined time to head over the line. Remember, the tyres only really good enough for the one lap. To Ollie Rowland, following Antonio Fuoco. Behind him, we've got Louis Delatraz making his debut with Racing Engineering. Then the second dams in the background. So the locking was a major problem into turn 10. That was the case for Ghiotto. That was the case for Ollie Rowland. That of course, traditionally take drivers to the top step of the podium. Matsushita has done that twice in this car, but at the moment he's being out-qualified by his teammate who is new to this level of motorsport, albeit with a fantastic pedigree of finishing runner-up to Charles Leclerc last year in GP3. And Albon, but for a difficult weekend in Belgium, could well have been even more of a factor. So Ollie Rowland was just running to a predetermined pace. They are still continuing to warm tyres and brakes. He was not at full beans down the pit straight by any means at all. So trying another slow out lap. And then they will wind it up as the seconds count down in this vital first qualifying session of the season. Today, all about raw pace. Tomorrow, all about making the tyres last. It's always a heavy degradation circuit around here. Rowland continues to lead the pack around. Who needs to get themselves out of trouble? Who is way down? I've highlighted Matsushita. He needs to get himself, you would think, in the top 6, somewhere around his teammate. Earlier on, we did have teammates very close together in practice. We had Leclerc and Fuoco close together. We certainly had the MP Motorsport car of King and Hammerer. And welcome to the nervous wait on the pit wall, Charles Leclerc. We've seen many a driver try this tactic. Here's the downside. You have to watch and wait to see if you get beaten. It is a long, long time, and there are 5 minutes and 57 seconds to go. as the clock ticks down. We've seen a few drivers improve. Coletti goes down the inside, and he's not very happy at all, is he? Not impressed one bit with Nabil Jeffrey, who's coming back at him. They're swapping positions all over the show. You've got to get tyre temperature, you've got to get brake temperature, you've got to make sure that no one is going to be caught ahead of you on your final lap. That is the conundrum. That's what Charles Leclerc decided to elect out of course, and that is why he will watch from the pit lane. Fantastic train of cars. It's all building up to a fantastic conclusion here. Here we go, led by Ollie Rowland over the line. Can he overcome the locking problems to get himself on terms? It's a big gap to bridge for the man who currently finds himself in 9th place. Will the Dams team's adjustments pay off? They've got a lot of new staff rejoining the team, and that new talent is absolutely crucial in moments like this. Rowland giving it everything. Not too wide there on the exit of 4. 5 and 6 blur into 1 very quickly. Here's 7. Got a yellow flag in sector 1, which could cause trouble. And there's another lockup. We heard him mention it on the radio, and Ollie Rowland just about gets it slowed down, but that is not the fastest way through turn number 8. Here's 9, immediately to 10. Does he have the same problem? Traditionally, 10 can be a big problem, but he managed to get through it. Looking at the time, it was a personal best, but it was half a second away from Charles Leclerc. DRS open. And now it's all uphill, and it's a very much an uphill task for Rowland to get himself onto the front row at this stage. Thought it was interesting that his teammate managed the faster lap in qualifying. He looks so serene, and by no means count him out for tomorrow, but this lap does not look like it is going to be good enough to get near Charles Leclerc. Ollie Rowland, though, tipped by many to contend for the title. It's a long 22-race championship. He's coming across the line. Where does this put Rowland? Is he able to improve from 9th place across the line? He's up to 6th at the moment, but look at the gap. 1.1 away from the ultimate pole time. Nicholas Latifi has improved up to 11th in the other Dams. And that was the lockup that began a difficult 15 corners for Ollie Rowland. So Nick de Vries now with the DRS wide open on the back straight, past the support race paddock, and now he begins the process of sweeping up the hill. Let's have a little look at where de Vries, he's done a personal best, only 0.3 of a second away from Leclerc's. Nato has had a scruffy lap. He's cost himself in the middle part. De Vries, if he can maintain this pace, is going to get himself right up there. So 0.3 away, 0.2 away. He's about half a second adrift, but that would be enough for the front row. That would be enough to join his former teammate from last year, but that oversteer won't help. He's just about held onto it. Here comes de Vries, then up through the gears. 5th to 6th over the line, and it's 3rd for Nick de Vries on debut as it stands in Formula 2. So one of the few drivers to improve. Leclerc being briefed, it's looking very good indeed. Here's the man who was 2nd in practice, locking up all action as ever from Artem Markelov, who has set a very fast first sector, not quite as quick as Leclerc. Oh! Contact there, and very unusual to see it in qualifying, but that's exactly what we've got at turn number 10 to ruin every lap behind. So Gustav Malia getting in to Nabil Jeffrey, and two men that have been frustrating drivers have got into each other at turn 10 to ruin everyone's lap behind. And I'm not sure I can ever remember that happening in a qualifying scenario. A big crash, and that we've got.
Your primo car is blocking you.
So Markelov not very pleased at all. He had set it all up, ready to go. But crashing in qualifying, well, that is, it's, what time is it now? It's 8:30 here in the evening, and that is extra work that the mechanics frankly didn't need and wouldn't expect. They have been working in 40-degree temperature, very nearly 40-degree temperature, and that is, oh, look at that. That is absolutely crazy to have that situation down the inside. Malia sort of half leaving the door open, and this is the problem. Nabil Jeffrey in the white car at the top, Gustav Malia in the red and yellow. Racing Engineering, and that is what is left with a virtual safety car, and it means that no one really able to improve. Matsushita did manage to get up to 6th place. I said that that is where he needed to aim. So no one able to improve. You had to be ahead of these two on the racetrack. And Charles Leclerc, welcome to Formula 2 and Prima, just like they did in the previous series. They have managed to claim the first pole position of the season. Well, what did he know that we didn't? He ran in the gap, he was confident to do so, he delivered the lap, and now he is taking the adulation. Put a lot of pressure on yourself to deliver in that gap. Well, Charles Leclerc notching up pole position #1. And a magnificent moment for the Monegasque driver. The Monegasque driver who takes the plaudits. There was no one at the time, would have loved to have seen Artem Markelov's lap, but that is, for qualifying, absolutely crazy. Down the inside, Jeffrey expecting more of a gap. And we couldn't hear it, but I don't think it would have been amused somehow. And so work for the mechanics to do, and they have been slaving away in extremely difficult conditions. So Gustav Malia finally out of the car. A little bit of explaining to do. Not sure he'll start in 15th position after those shenanigans. And he rather sheepishly walks away, guided by the marshal. Not what he would have wanted on his Formula 2 debut. And unsurprisingly, the stewards have a little bit of late night homework to do to decide what is required in the way of penalties. So Charles Leclerc, he's been out of the car for the best part of 20 minutes now. He's putting his crash helmet back on to drive it round to the support race pits, but you can see what it means to him, watching himself on the big screen. And that really was a very impressive way to start your championship, delivering when it mattered. Got to back yourself to do that, and he absolutely delivered. Fuoco, another word for him as well. It's a Prima 1-2. This outfit really is so impressive. We've seen it again. De Vries, extraordinary to put that difficult practice session behind him and improve to 3rd place. He's 7/10 away. Jordan King getting the blow up to cool him down. He will not be amused by being outside the top 10 with his first race with MP Motorsport. But not only that, behind camera, his teammate. So 1 lap pace getting in the way, but a lot to aim for in the race tomorrow, which of course will be in completely different conditions to the ones we have now. The temperature turned right up once again. Markelov would have liked to have seen where a complete Artem Markelov lap would have got him. You heard his frustration on the radio. And you see the time there. Nick de Vries understandably delighted as we see the aftermath of what led to a touch of anticlimax and the exact reason that Charles Leclerc decided to run into the gap. So Leclerc ahead of Fuoco, De Vries, Nato and Giotto. That really is a top 5 to be excited about in the first Formula 2 race day for a very long time. I hope you'll join us for it It is going to be something very special in roasting conditions. Join us then tomorrow for race day when Formula 2 returns.
Enjoy Sky Sports F1 Live.